Hey guys, it's Daiku, and this is my workshop tour video. I worked really hard to set up this room, cleaning out so many years of stuff out of this study in the house so that I could be here. So I just wanted to share what I've done with all of you, and I want to say thank you for everyone who supported me through it. So I really hope you enjoy this. Okay, so the first thing we have in the workshop is the baby gate, or as I like to call it, baby jail. It's to keep untrustworthy puppies on the other side so that they don't come in and eat things off the floor. And then once you come in, we've got the door, which stays usually closed because behind it we've got the ironing board, which is where I'll do all of the backings for my patches and anything else that needs to be ironed. I don't usually iron my fabric because Minky is temperamental that way, but sometimes I'll have to if it's particularly greased. And then next to the door, we've got my large bookcase, which has most of my books on. There are a few that are missing that I've gone walkabout throughout the house, so I need to find those silly little things. And mostly it's just my books and a few plush toys like my companion cube and the first plush I made when I got my embroidery machine, the original Daiku. And yeah, next to the bookshelf we come to part of the workshop that doesn't ever seem to look clean, which is the shelves that keep all of my fabric and my stock. So I've got pellets for weighing down plush in here, mostly fur swatches and some minky swatches in there. Then I've got all of my like miscellaneous fabrics like cottons and stuff, and then my display items for conventions. Then over here we've got another display sort of easel and my plastic bags of patches, a random sewing box with little bits and pieces in like needles. Then I've got large minky scraps in this one, so pieces that can't really be used for a full plush, but they can be used for things like ears or noses or hair, stuff like that. Then I've got all my fur. And then down here are the larger pieces of minky, and some of my smaller embroidery threads are in that box. Some bags to carry stock for conventions, some stock for the store and for cons, my secret stash of wrapping paper because I actually love wrapping presents. It's a weird thing that I like. Over here I've got my big LED work light. I originally bought a different one and then had to swap it for this one because the original one was halogen and it got entirely too hot for this tiny little room, so that wasn't a good time. These two boxes are probably the most important for fabric, as they usually have the minky I'm currently using or I'm going to use in my queue. So the top one is usually the minky for whatever plush or other project is being currently worked on. So I've got some fabric for the next two plush in here. Then next to that I've got my desk, and above the desk is my Shannon Minky swatch book. I actually have the dimpled swatch book because they never had the smooth one in stock when I bought this. So it was a good time getting the dimpled one, which is always funny. People always think I'm going to use dimpled fabric for them, but I'm not, I promise. It just feels cool. And above that I have a pin board with the swatches for my suit that I'm going to be working on soon, for my shark character, to all the fur, most of the fur and the minky that I'm going to be using for her. Then on top of the desk we've got my laptop, one of my sketchbooks, my pen holder that's got some pens, a Sharpie, my fabric marking pen, which is this heat removable marker, and some paper cutting scissors, even though I probably sometimes use my fabric scissors, which is bad. No one should do that. Then I got my phone and the camera's lens cap. Then over here I've got my computer. I use an iMac for most of my work related things. I use the laptop sometimes when I don't really want to be in here, but most of my work stuff is done on the desktop computer. And then over here I've got my Fath sewing machine, which I got recently this year, and I love this thing. It's amazing. It's so much better to have two machines now rather than just the one. And I've got some, what else do I have here? I got, oh yeah, my pin cup that is slightly horrifying every time I need to find a pin, and a large cone of thread. Then we can go in the desk. Over here I've got a receipt. A year planner for this year that I don't use nearly enough, but I probably should. I have a large display folder for large A3 size prints. My smudge guard for when I do digital art. My Minky pouch that I made for myself. It has some medicine and some lip balm and stuff in there. A ruler for when I do patterning over here. Then if I open my very stubborn drawers, which I don't like to open, this is mostly just random stuff. I've got my masking tape and normal packaging tape, the charger for my wireless speaker. The newer Shannon Minky swatches are in here. I just haven't had time to put them up on the swatch book just yet, but eventually I'll get to that. So I keep them in here. I think I'm only missing like one or two of them. Then I have a selfie stick, because of course I need one of those. Lots of pins and blue tack. Then over here I've got a palette for keeping paint on, a sample ring for the company I get my charms from, so it's all the different kinds of charms you can get printed through them, a sample card for Cat Print for their prints. Then I have some random backing card that looks really pretty, my portfolio book for conventions that I'll keep on my table that shows all of the plush I've made so far, and then I've got a few display folders which are for patterns and prints and things like that. Then in the bottom drawer, which is technically supposed to be for files, but I use it to keep things in instead because I don't really use files, I have some of my online stock, so my pouches and some of my charms in here. This sewing tin that everyone has. Then I've got some of my prints, so my Hookah Shark Out of Water prints are down here. And my, a lot of my business cards are in here, which I need to get reprinted. Then, under the desk, I've got my rubbish bin and the camera bag. Then if you move it to the side of the desk, I have a notepad, another sketchbook, my Cintiq 13 HD drawing tablet, and then lots and lots of paper. I use this for patterning and for printing out backing cards for my patches and other things like that, and I have a lot of it. I don't know why I've got so much, but it means I don't have to buy any for a really long time. Then next to the desk I have these small drawers, and on top I have the foot for the Fath machine, a slicker brush for brushing out seams, my favorite pair of scissors, a pin cushion, my sharps container that is technically for medical sharps, but I use it for all of my pins, and when it's full, I'll go dispose of it properly, like you're supposed to. I've got a container with my magnets and some beads and jump rings and safety eyes, stuff like that. Just stuff that can't be kept really anywhere else. And then over here I've got my wireless speaker so that I can listen to music while I'm working. And next to that I have a bottle of Skunk Spray, which is by Skunky Designs. It's used mostly as a fursuit spray, but I tend to use it now to keep my room smelling good, and I use it sometimes for plush when I send them off so that they smell good when they get to the customer, which is always really nice. This is probably my favorite scent in their range, which is the black raspberry and vanilla. I really, really love this one. I also have the bubblegum scent, which is pretty good. And then in this top drawer, I have all of my embroidery threads. So I use primarily marathon embroidery threads. I use the smaller cones most of the time. They're really great. I really love these threads. They're really good for their price, and their postage is always really fast, and their customer service is amazing. They're located in Australia. And then next to them, I've got some of the larger cones. I have these two colors, and I also have a black and a white, but they live in another box at the moment because I don't use them as much. I tend to use them only sparingly when I have to. I definitely prefer the smaller cones. And then I have some large size bobbin threads and some large normal cottons. And behind those I have my glow-in-the-dark threads. So I have white and I have blue. Then in the next drawer, I've got some random bits and pieces. So my glue gun and some glue sticks, two pliers and snips for my wire that I use to wire plush with if they need to be wired, if they need to be posable, or if something's too heavy to be held up just by stuffing, I'll wire it. I have small pins, can never have too many of those. I've got my custom ribbon that I use to tie up my plush with. My fabric tags, so I've got a few. I have the Daiku's Workshop ones, and I have some older ones with my old logo on. These ones here. I've got some a phone case, some pens, and more pens, and then my Copics and other markers are in that pencil case there. Then the lower drawer, we've got just more random stuff. So an old bamboo tablet, some popsicle sticks if I need them for craft things, some command hooks for hanging up my swatch books and paintings. These are amazing because they can be removed from your walls without leaving any damage. I love these things. A spare mouse for the computer if the wireless one isn't charged. Another slicker brush. And some tape. You can also not have too much tape. Then, next to the drawers, we've got a lot of stuffing. Keep all my stuffing over here. And underneath this is a box mostly for rubbish. Also for like throwaway plush tests. So these are some heads that I never used, or they were just tests, so they live in there. Then over here, I have my large cutting table. I love this thing, it's great. So on top of that, I have a coat of arms for my family, which is pretty cool. I found it when we were cleaning up this house, this room actually, so I need to hang that up eventually. Then over here, I have a small table rubbish bin for my embroidery scraps, so pieces of cut off fabric, threads, stuff like that. Then I have my spray adhesive, which is amazing. I really like this stuff. I've used quite a few, and this is probably my favorite, but it's the hardest to find for me. Then I have my Brother NV950 embroidery and sewing machine combo. Originally, I was using this for both sewing and embroidery, and then it got too much to use it for both, so I bought the FAF machine to be my sewing machine, and this is now just an embroidery only machine. It's great. The maximum hoop size for this is only 4x4 inches, but it does have a 4x7 multi-hoop, which is a bit harder to use, but it can then push your hoop size a little bit more. I'd love to upgrade soon, but that's a down the track type thing. Over here I've got some fabric and the pattern for my pouches that I've got some more to work on, so that's just living over here for now. I have my styrofoam head and some lycra because I'm going to start working on my fursuit soon. So that's just out because I don't really have anywhere else to live. I have a external thread holder for some of my bigger cones of thread, so it's easier to put it on that than trying to figure out how to put it on the machine. My funnel and this container are for adding beans to plush. It's much easier to use these two things or else they go everywhere and it's a nightmare to pick them up. In this box I have all the parts for the embroidery machine, so the other feet, the screwdriver, cleaning stuff was all in here. This is just a weighted tin for if I need to weigh down any plush from taking photos or anything else that really needs to be weighed down. I have my my measuring tape and my smaller pairs of scissors and my unpicker in here and some protractors. And then in this table down here I've got the presser foot for the Brother machine and then my bubble wrap for packing plush. Then in the drawer for this desk I've got all of my scissors, the water soluble stabilizer topping that I use to when I'm embroidering so that the minky doesn't show up through the embroidery. I have my embroidery hoops, and then I have my stabilizers. So I use primarily cutaway and tearaway stabilizers depending on what I'm working on, so they live there. And then next to the table I have this tall shelf with various plush. So the large speech bubble and egg are both also by my friend Skunky. I love them. Then I have a small little Neopet, this painter bear that I've had forever, a Snorlax, and then some random Beanie Kids from my collection. These are probably some of my favorites. I have some more, but they live in a box because I'm too scared that the dogs will steal them. And then down there I have Jenga because Jenga is great. Next to the shelf and next to the door is my vacuum cleaner, so I can clean up because Minky makes a giant mess, which is never fun.